Hi there, it's Nick back on the camera again one more time. Hi there, how's it going? Mmm, homemade gluten-free bread. Amazing. Totally wonderful. Okay, um, just want to talk a little about the protests. Um, mm, excuse me a second, it's very good bread. Alright, now, for those of you who are out there and protesting and doing what you're doing, carry on doing it. I think you're doing a wonderful thing because you're standing up for what you think is right. You're trying to express yourself and trying to make sure your message is got across. Carry on doing it, I'm right behind you. But I'm just rather concerned about this one particular phrase, which is being used time and time and time again, with reference to the protests. It's often said that this is about corporate greed. Okay, corporate greed. But wait a second. The same system has basically been in place since before a lot of the protesters were born. Actually, before all of them were born, and it's always been greedy, uh, and it's always been a little corrupt, and not necessarily all that positive. It's been the same system. I think that if you want to protest against like bankers' bonuses, that would be a great thing to protest against. Wonderful. Okay, if you want to protest against people who have high-level positions in certain forms of financial institution acting inappropriately, then yeah, laws should go out against them. There should be regulation in the market, and all these things should be put into place. A whole new financial infrastructure should be put into place as well, and it should be working on a national, local, as well as global scale. That's the kind of thing which it would be worthwhile campaigning for. But campaigning against corporate greed, that doesn't seem to be all that positive to me, because basically, why are you protesting against corporate greed when basically it's the same system that it's been in like years before you were born and throughout all of your life? It just makes it seem like you're being hypocritical if you're using corporate greed as your excuse. So I personally would move away from that phrase because, why weren't you, if corporate greed or corporate, misdemeanors are quite such a negative, why weren't you protesting against it when you had a job? When your standard of living was better? When you had a house? When you could afford your electric and your gas bill? When your taxes were lower? When unemployment was lower? Are you really objecting to corporate greed? No. Because if you are objecting to corporate greed, then essentially you're objecting to not being paid by the corporate greedy system. So that's a bit like saying that gangsters who go around killing people are perfectly ordinary, decent, law-abiding citizens, provided that they're paying you. So it's just a question of changing the phraseology. If we're using the idea of we're fighting against corporate greed, I think that makes you look a bit daft. If you're using the idea of we are campaigning for a better quality of financial system with regulation, with more ethics involved, more transparency, and the rest of that, that's good. But corporate greed is the wrong phrase. If you're campaigning against corporate greed, then campaign against your bosses. Okay, everything that you've ever worked for and been associated with, your customers, if you've ever run a business. You know, it's intellectually flawed to rebel or protest against corporate greed.